is called A Holding Space, and it's about how we can engage with woodland spaces, with trees. It's about how we re-engage with the world. It explores coming out of lockdown, coming into nature spaces, and how woodland spaces in particular can act as holding spaces to hold movement conversations, to get back to moving with one another, touching one another, and moving in nature spaces. So the aims are kind of twofold. One, to make a piece of creative work that explores those themes, and two, to have public engagement workshops that come out of the creative practice that encourage members of the public and particular groups to come out of the house into nature spaces and explore creative ideas, with the hope that engaging with nature spaces through movement, through dance, can encourage well-being, can help reduce post-lockdown anxiety, and can get us back into being in proximity to one another, with nature spaces, with trees, with the forms and their shapes and structures, in a post-COVID era when bodies are hopefully no longer contagious.
Dancing together again post-COVID and lockdown without any restrictions was a surreal experience, especially dancing in such an open and large, grand space, as opposed to being in lockdown, being confined to, you know, rooms, flats, and not seeing anyone other than those that were in our house. It was an interesting experience. It was tentative to interact with another person again in a way that, you know, we weren't allowed to for so long.
It was like going from complete polar opposites to not having any contact, not seeing anyone doing anything, to then being put in a situation, in a space where that was okay, that was welcomed, that was encouraged.
Yeah.
It was just it was almost like doing it all again for the first time. It was a new experience. It was trying to find your footing back into that world, the dance world, the touching world, a contact world that we had been so distant from for a long time.
I think it hit hard as a dancer who's not consciously so aware of how often we have physical interaction with people, to then not being allowed to touch when you are a very physical person with other people, and that shared understanding as dancers. It was a strange transition, and it almost happened straight away.
And learning
growth
new
period.
ways to touch. So instead of holding hands and being face to face, it might be back to back, it might be arm to arm, and finding what you're comfortable with and navigating through that inner space that is opened. You don't feel confined, but that is still
COVID friendly and safe.
Yeah.
I feel like post-COVID, COVID actually made studios feel a bit awkward and uncomfortable and unnatural, because they were confined spaces.
And I think like working outside in a space like this, it's a way in. We got comfortable having contact in a space like this, or moving in a space like this, and I wonder what impact that has for the future of us eventually moving back inside and taking normal class, and when things do go back to normal.
And I think these types of spaces were sort of a lot of people's only access to outdoors. You know, you had your 30-minute allowance outside, or your exercise allowance, the time away from your confined space and your home. During that period, these were sort of the outlets for being outside and having some kind of contact with other people. So it almost offers like a more natural transition. I think it alleviated some of the awkwardness, and yeah, it definitely helped make the transition from
easier,
post-COVID
slightly quicker maybe,
yeah,
because you are more comfortable outside.
yeah.